Hi guys, just wanted to make a video about Punchestown Festival. The first day of the festival starts on Tuesday. I wanted to highlight a couple of selections in two races, the 420 at Punchestown and the 530 at Punchestown, the Champion Novice Hurdle and the Champion Chase respectively. I also took a wee look at the 640. I couldn't manage to eke out any value in those markets at all. I think market prices are about right. Alpha Disover might be a tick or two overpriced. I think he ran better than his beer result at the Irish Grand National, but he's a risky proposition, and 10 to 1 isn't quite juicy enough for me to get involved. So I'm leaving that one alone. So we'll take a look at the 420 at Punchestown. I've made my spreadsheet here. I've color coded it this time to identify where I think horses are overpriced, about the right price, underpriced. And as you can see, take you through everything again. Master speed rating, their official rating, price, as in the current market price. These are bookmakers' prices rather than the Betfair prices I usually use because Betfair don't have markets up yet. Their price in a percentage form, then my price expressed in both percentage form and their actual price. I think the bookies have priced this up slightly defensively in that their view is that between them, Mellon and Labaik have a 68% chance of winning this race. I think that's over 80% chance. I really cannot see any of the other five horses getting close to them. Briefly tick them off. Peter the Mailman isn't good enough. Forge Meadows not even close to being good enough. I've never had her running beyond 130. Silos Emery and Bunkoff Early both. Well, in Silos Emery's case, he ran okay at Cheltenham, but he's again got over a stone to find with Mellon and Labaik, and he has no obvious reason for reversing that form. Bunkoff Early disappointed at Cheltenham, but to be honest, I'd never rated him that highly anyway. I thought he was underpriced at Cheltenham, and I can't see any reason why he would improve either. And again, Ping Shu was flattered by the result at Aintree. He was in the right place in what was a steadily run race, and I think a number of horses in that race underperformed. Again, I think all of these horses are too short actually, and they make no appeal to me at prices. So the issue with this race, of course, and it's something of a glaring issue, is that you are betting on Labaik turning up and actually running his race rather than planting himself at the start. So you have to, when approaching it, factor in that there is a distinct chance that he may not actually run. Again, there'll probably be the kind of bookmaker refunds being offered, and you'll probably get bookmakers who will price him up on the basis of him actually running, which is what I did originally when I approached this race. So my rationale was that if he, well, first, the percentage chance I thought of him not running, I thought was about 1 in 4, about a 25% chance. I thought he had about a 25% chance of planting himself at the start and not running. And from there, I thought if he actually did run, his percentage chance of winning was around 50%. I thought he had an evens chance if he jumps off. So assuming that there's a 75% chance of him running, and then if he does run an evens chance, I priced him up as having around a 37.5% chance, which can be expressed as 2.67, around 13 to 8 in fractional terms. So I think current top price 11 to 4, 3.75. I think that's a generous price. I think he is value at that price. The issue, of course, is that I may not have priced up and it's an impossible thing to do with any degree of accuracy. He may be more likely than 25% chance not to run, but there was I just instinctively feel that he will jump off. I think Cheltenham, with everything that entails, was a much easier opportunity for him to just plant himself at the start. I think they've obviously got something like to the bottom of this horse in terms of understanding what makes him tick, and I would be surprised if he didn't jump off with the field. Um, and if he does, I think he is by far the most likely winner. His run at Cheltenham was a top class performance. I'd rate it at 160. It can be upgraded as well because it was a fairly slowly run race at Cheltenham, and couldn't exactly say that he was in the right position, being held up through the race. In fact, Mellon basically had everything in his favour that day. He was in the ideal position. He jumped and travelled well, and ultimately just wasn't on the same level as Labaik. I don't see any reason why Mellon would improve past Labaik. Somebody made a point that um, perhaps another run, he's more likely to benefit from another run than Labaik. I don't know how likely that is. Mellon's had plenty of experience in schooling hurdles. I think Rory Gillarghy mentioned that he'd run in half a dozen of them, and Mullins wouldn't have sent him to Cheltenham half cooked. I can't see him um, improving past Labaik, and I think the market, I priced him up at 43%. The market likewise has him as about a 42% chance. I think that's a very accurate reflection of his chances. If Labaik doesn't perform, or if Labaik plants himself at the start, he will probably win. He's by far and away the most likely winner otherwise. But the market's got him right. So yeah, I think Labaik's the bet at the prices. You're clearly taking a risk that he won't run, but that's factored into a price of 11-4, and you've just got to keep your fingers crossed. I'd be interested to see, and I don't think it's happened yet, how the bookmakers price him. With assuming that he does jump off. I mean, as I say, I think he's an evens chance if he does jump off. So if you can get something like 6-4, 7-4, something like that with a run, then I would take that as well. Moving on to the 5:30, which is the Boyle Sports Champion Chase. Again, similar format. The colour reflects whether they're underpriced, overpriced, or about the right price. Underso is the most likely winner here, but again, I think he is too short on. So Marcus priced him at 1.73. I think he's more of an 11-8 shot, and I'll explain why. I have come to the conclusion. I've watched quite a few of his videos the last couple of days. I've come to the conclusion that performance in the Ryanair was his best performance ever. Which is quite something when you consider he did plenty wrong. He was very keen throughout. He made a couple of hairy jumps, although he actually jumped better in the main than he usually does. My rationale for the strength of that performance was simply that, and it happens with a lot of horses, including Fox Norton, who we'll talk about later, was that he was in his comfort zone the whole way round. Over 2 miles in the past, particularly against horses like Sprinter Sacra, you always kind of felt that things were just happening slightly too quickly for Underso, particularly in the jumping stakes. He never looked too fluent over his hurdles, and everything just seemed to be happening quite quickly around him. And I think in the Ryanair, whilst he made certain errors, particularly with regard to keenness, everything just happened at his own pace, and that I think helped both his jumping, and it just basically stopped him from getting outpaced at any point. Everything was just happening within his comfort zone, and this is an interesting one. It's discussed a lot with time aficionados, the rationale for that. It's clear that Underso doesn't stay 2.5 miles as well as other horses. He is not, I don't think, a staying type. But quite often, what happens at big festivals where they run a championship gallop is that horses like Undersow, though they're not the strongest of steers, are able to do everything within their comfort zone. They're able to travel within their comfort zone, jump within their comfort zone. And the result is, although they don't stay the trip particularly well, because they're doing everything within their comfort zone, they're never actually exerting themselves. They're never straining. Everything is being done at ease. And I think that's why he won at Cheltenham, despite everything going wrong for him. He was just managing to conserve a bit more energy than everything else because of the ease with which he went through the race. And of course, that's not going to happen here. This is 2 miles. The ground is likely to be good, although Punchestown are watering. And I don't actually buy into the fact that Anderson is much poorer on good ground. I think there's very little in the ground theory with him. But what is true is that things tend to happen a bit quicker on good ground. And when it comes to his jumping and his general ability to do things within his comfort zone, that's not going to suit him as much. Now again, he's the most likely winner, I think. That was a super performance at Cheltenham. I'd rated it 165 plus. And I think you couldn't argue that he shouldn't be favourite. But the prices, it's all about price. We can leave him alone. I think the market's got God's Own and Ballycasey about right. I think their chances are about the chances that's reflected in their price. I think the others are all too short a price. Horses like Real Moore, the Game Changer, seems to be totally gone at the game. I couldn't have them being 50-1 shots. I would suggest they have a much less chance of winning than that. The horse who your eye will be drawn to is Fox Norton, who again, like Undersow, comes with his issues. Fox Norton improved, I thought, significantly to win at Aintree, and that may well be similar to Undersow, that the race was run over 2 miles 4 rather than 2 miles. Thus, he was able to jump and travel much easier rather, than had been the case at 2 miles, where everything was happening quickly. The fences were coming at him. He was being slightly outpaced at times. He wasn't jumping as well. Whereas over 20 furlongs, again, he might not be the strongest stayer at that trip, but everything was just happening within his comfort zone quite easily. And the result was that he won quite comfortably from sub-lieutenant. He was 4.5 lengths further clear at the line than Undersow was to sub-lieutenant. I mean, clearly the form isn't directly comparable, but there's not much in it in terms of raw form. And in terms of their sectional times, I was particularly impressed with Fox Norton that day. If you look at him from first to 3 out, 2:46.54, compared with 2:45.59 in Mike Bite's race. The Mike Bite's race was strongly run over 3 miles. Fox Norton's was run at, I would say, an average gallop for 2.5 miles. Mike Bite's was a second faster. But if you look at the closing sectionals from 3 out, 44.63 for Fox Norton compared with 47.93, over 3 seconds slower in Mike Bite's race. Now, when you consider how classy a horse Mike Bite is, albeit racing over 4 furlongs further, for Fox Norton to have put up closing sectionals 3 seconds quicker suggests that was a very good time performance. I'd actually rated it 170, although I've adjusted it slightly. I've adjusted it to a speed rating of 168, which is actually better, or certainly on a par with what Undersow achieved at Cheltenham. Again, I've mentioned this before, the step down to 2 miles possibly won't suit. Things might be happening a bit too quickly. But my instinct is Fox Norton actually improved on that day. I don't think that piece of form is comparable to any of his previous starts. I think it's a better piece of form than he had achieved previously. And at the prices, market, he's currently 4-1 best price. I wouldn't give you any bigger than 9-4 about him. And I would say that he rates a fairly good bet in those circumstances. Thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully put up some videos for days 2, 3, 4 and 5 near the time. Thanks guys.